and welcome to Sylvan Miss Designs. So Mandala Dot Art. It looks so simple, it's really beautiful, and it's just a little bit of paint, a kind of weird tool, and some dots. What could be simpler? And it looks amazing. And I'm sure, honestly, that this is one of the reasons that you started in the art too, right? Because I know that's one of the reasons that I started. It looked so simple, I just wanted to dive in. Now, as you do get into this art, you will find that it is slightly more complex and the process is going to be quite a bit broader than what it looks like initially. And although really this is the case, today I do not want to focus on what you need to start, but rather I do want to share what I believe are the most important things that you do not do as a beginner. All right, so I'll take some time to explain. Number one is do not get overwhelmed. Easy to say, right? I'm not kidding when I tell you that there really is only three things that you need. And that's going to be the paint, the tool, and the surface. Period. End of story. Stop. Don't go any further. Don't be looking for other things to buy, okay? And the two basic rules to that are going to be that don't be afraid to start cheap and don't get ahead of yourself. As far as a tool is concerned or set, you do not need to buy a custom mandala tool. It is perfectly fine to start out with something DIY. If you do go buy a set, buy a simple one. If you do go online and you search, you're going to find a million different sets for Mandala Dot Art, right? And they're going to advertise that it contains every little thing that you're ever going to need, and you are going to think that you want it and you're going to buy it. But the problem is that most of what is in these sets, you're not going to use right now or maybe even ever. And a lot of the stuff that's in there, you may not have any clue what to do with. Ironically enough, most of these sets, they don't contain any instruction whatsoever. So if you do buy a set, my suggestion is just buy a set of tools. Buy a simple set that provides you with a few different tool options, because I do believe that you are going to want to be able to make a selection of your tool based on your own personal preferences. As far as the surface is concerned, let me start by saying that do not immediately paint something that you are going to want to either display, give away, or use. Okay, don't start out on the coolest rock that you found. Okay, probably wouldn't suggest starting out on a canvas or something like maybe a mug either, because almost 100% guaranteed you are not going to like what you first put out. So no matter how easy this looks, it's just going to frustrate you and it's going to create self-doubt. So even though this looks easy, start out with something simple and disposable. Start out with some cardstock, maybe grab some printer paper, paper plate. You know, you want to maybe buy a sketchbook, something like that. Again, make sure that it's something you are going to be 100% okay literally throwing away. As far as paint's concerned, don't be afraid to start cheap. Don't worry about what paint is best. Go to the store and pick something that's on clearance. Get a paint brand that maybe has a lower price point. It certainly doesn't matter at this point. We can always work with consistency a little bit later. My suggestion only is to make sure that it is a water-based, multi-surface acrylic. All right, and number two is going to be don't dive straight into a structured design or pattern. That you have your tool, you have a paint, and you have a surface. Just start putting dots down on the page. This art, it really does take a very light touch, and it takes some getting used to, because when you pick up these tools instinctively, you want to use them like you would a pencil or a pen or a paintbrush, and that isn't quite how it works. So before you really start to get into anything structured, I recommend just playing around with the tools. Pick up each of your tools, understand how they feel in your hand, the weight of them, look at the size of dot that each of the tools creates. Maybe take a moment at this time to create a little chart for yourself that shows which tools create what size of dots. Just play around a little bit. Focus at this point on technique and consistency. Get a feeling for what you like so that you have an opportunity to select what tools you're going to feel most comfortable with. Now, if you've already started, you've already found a pattern, or are maybe even trying to follow a YouTube tutorial, at this point, don't be afraid to stop, take a step back, and just put some dots on a page and start again with practicing a little bit of consistency and technique. Okay, so on to number 3. Don't worry about finishing or completing finished pieces. In the beginning, you don't want to worry about having to seal and finish your work. I've worked for several months before I even thought I created something that I liked, that was pretty decent, nonetheless something that I really thought about keeping on a more permanent basis and having to seal it. So don't get ahead of yourself. Don't even worry about having to find sealers in some shape or form, okay? In the beginning, you're not going to know what you want, nonetheless, actually what you're going to need for the type of project that you're going to work on. So at this point, like I said, don't even worry about it. Number 4 is going to be really difficult, but I really, really think it's important. And that is, do not get stuck in your own head, okay? Understand that you are new to this. You are going to screw stuff up. You're gonna produce crap for a while, okay? You are inevitably going to try to compare yourself to others and your work to others. If you do this comparison, it's just going to make you feel unaccomplished. You may get depressed, and it's going to stall your motivation, and it's going to stall your progress. I can't sit here and tell you not to be frustrated and not to compare your work to somebody else's, because it's just something as humans that we inherently do. It is really hard, but this does lead me into what I believe is another mistake that people are making. So this number 5 is, don't be afraid to ask for help. Now, I run a group on Facebook, and I'm not saying this necessarily as a plug of any kind, but I kid you not that 90% of all of the requests that I have for membership include the reason that they want to join as inspiration. And these are beginners. These are people that have absolutely never picked up a tool or put down a dot, and they just want to be inspired. And that is absolutely great. It's perfect and it's fine. But I'll tell you, watching YouTube videos and scrolling through Instagram, the inspiration really is out there, and there are a million different tutorials and how-tos, but none of these are going to help you progress in the art if you cannot or have not yet mastered the basics. Right? Start off by letting go of your fear. Far too many people are scared. They're embarrassed. They're shy. They don't think that what they're putting out is good enough, that they are going to be judged for making crap, or maybe not progressing as fast as other people are, or as fast as they themselves think they should be. And you honestly have to just ditch that mindset absolutely immediately. One of the reasons that I created my group is because I wanted for those that are starting to come and show us your work. We're talking about your very first dots. Even if that is you've just now bought your paint and your tools and you put 6 dots on a page, let's see it. Let us help you get to where you want to be. You have to be open to receiving help. Not only that, don't be afraid of continuous, and I say continuous, and I'm going to emphasize that, continuous feedback and constructive criticism. You do not want to come in with a piece that you created, post it, or talk to somebody about it, no matter where that is. Get a little bit of feedback on it and walk away. This needs to be a continuous process. And again, constructive criticism, you cannot shy away from. Constructive criticism, feedback, and advice. And more so than asking for and getting this advice, you need to take it to heart. You need to actually try and do what was suggested to help you progress. Number 6, don't lose track of where you began. This is the last thing that I'm going to say, but I do believe, again, it is really, really important. Keep yourself a record. Keep the paper plate or the piece of cardstock that you started out on, even if it was just your first practice pieces, putting stuff down. Because when, and another thing to emphasize is when, not if, because it's going to happen, when you find yourself stuck inside your head, okay, when you start to self-doubt, you're questioning your skill, go grab that work. Seriously, go back and look at your own progress, okay, not other people's progress, not where everybody else is at. Take a look at how far you have come. This will allow you to sort of sit back and give the world a middle finger, right? And be able to move on. All right, so there we have it. Those are the 6 most important things that I've got for you, and I certainly hope it's helpful to some out there. If you do run into any questions, feel free to drop them below. I would love to hear feedback from anyone. Take care, guys. Look forward to seeing you next time.